Okay, WWE WrestleMania Backlash is in the books. I don't know why they called it this at all. It didn't seem to add much of anything except to make it feel like some sort of weird spin-off. So, and no, the next pay-per-view is not named WrestleMania something, so unfortunately they're not keeping up the trend. Or maybe it's fortunate, I don't know. We did have a kickoff show match to start things off. This wasn't announced like a couple hours before the show, but Sheamus issued an open challenge. This was not for the United States Championship, even though their advertising seemed to indicate it was. But it turns out the open challenge was accepted by Ricochet. He hits a big dropkick after the bell. Sheamus comes back, hits an Irish Curse backbreaker, basically kind of dominates the match until Ricochet comes back with a jawbreaker followed by a jumping enziguri. Ricochet rolled out of a suplex attempt and hit a backstabber, then hit a springboard 450. He went for the 630, but Sheamus rolled out of the way, went for the brogue kick, missed, but hit a brogue knee strike and knocked Ricochet out, basically covering him for the 3 count of the victory. Yeah, this match really didn't add anything at all. Like, I know Sheamus has been doing this the last few weeks. He's been challenging some of the smaller guys and under the guise of you have to earn your championship opportunities with me. But yeah, it just didn't really do... it doesn't elevate Ricochet at all. He didn't look that effective. He just got in a few lucky strikes. I mean, I think Mansoor had had the best of the group. I know Humberto Carrillo got injured during his match, so I'm not going to fault him too much there, but still. Yeah, it just didn't quite work as well. So then we move on to the first match on the show proper. I mean, the triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship: Rhea Ripley against Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Of course, Charlotte Flair comes out in Cruella de Vil attire, so I mean, obviously trying to cash in on that, which is coming out in the next week or so. I don't think it's out just yet. At least not. Is it in theaters now? Oh, I can't remember. Yeah, I do feel a little weird about that movie. Just, again, like you're trying to make us pull for someone who is essentially pro-animal abuse. Really? Anyway, Asuka and Ripley basically both want to go after Charlotte, but she just rolls out of the ring. But then they sort of play coy and start sort of fighting with each other, and Rhea Ripley used it to whip Asuka into Charlotte, knocking her off the apron. Asuka then grabbed Flair's leg, and Ripley dropkicked Charlotte off of the apron. Charlotte hit a face plant into the turnbuckle on Ripley. Ripley and Asuka hit dueling roundhouse kicks on each other. Asuka hit a Shining Wizard on Charlotte. Charlotte hit a moonsault to the outside of the ring. Ripley and Asuka hit a double superplex onto Charlotte. Charlotte came back in a double natural selection onto her opponents. And then she went for a moonsault again, but Asuka kind of countered that into the Asuka lock. Ripley kind of broke that up, went for the riptide, but she sort of fought out of it again. Asuka went for the riptide on Charlotte. Charlotte fought out of it again. She tried to go to the riptide on Ripley, but instead Charlotte hit the big boot on Asuka, and that sent Asuka into Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte sort of fell out of the ring, and Ripley hit the riptide for the 3 count of the victory. This was an okay match. It got a little clunky towards the end there. Like, it was a little hard to keep track of things. I mean, it literally looked like, again, you couldn't quite tell exactly what happened to Charlotte, because it's like, she didn't hit Asuka that hard to kick her into Rhea Ripley's, into the riptide, so, yeah, why couldn't she just gotten into the ring and pinned her? It's like, it wasn't that convincing a maneuver. I mean, a lot of it just really wasn't very convincing. It was like, it started out pretty convincing, and then it just sort of fell apart towards the end, so, yeah, this was not a good example of a triple threat match right off the bat. After that, we have the SmackDown Tag Team the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match: Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler against Rey and Dominic Mysterio. Well, sort of. During the kickoff show, Dominic, got jumped by Roode and Ziggler, and he got sort of pinned, and they threw it looked like a couch on top of him, and basically he was injured, and it looked like he wasn't going to be able to ring. So Rey just elected to go it alone and basically turn this into a handicap match. Rey tried to fight his own early. He had head scissors, which sent Roode into Ziggler, knocking Ziggler off the apron. Rey hit a sliding splash off of the apron onto Ziggler. It's then that Roode kind of came back, he had a big lariat. Ziggler got in and basically grabbed Rey and started teasing, "Oh, I'll let you tag, oh wait, you don't have a tag partner." Ziggler tangled Rey up in the ropes at one point. Roode and Ziggler hit a flapjack famouser combination. Roode then threw Rey into a super kick. Rey countered a suplex into a double DDT. At this point, Dominic came down to the ring, began calling for a tag. Ziggler hit a zigzag and only got a 2 count on it. Rey hit a bulldog off the second rope and finally just tagged in Dominic. But Roode immediately caught Dominic with a spinebuster, so it really wasn't that effective. Ziggler and Roode hit a sort of assisted neck breaker onto Dominic. But then when Ziggler went for the super kick, Dominic managed to hit one of his own and get to Rey and tag him. Rey managed to get Roode into position to hit a 619, and then Dominic hit a frog splash for the 3 count of the victory. So, yeah, Rey and Dominic are now SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the first father-son tag team in history to win the championship in WWE. And they'll probably have it for the next 3 weeks until the Usos win it. So, yeah. That was sort of the other thing that was going on was, again, because Jimmy's trying to pull Jay back into the tag team ranks and leave this whole Roman Reigns family business. Okay. But Jay seems reticent, and Roman is not approving of any of this. Although, why wouldn't he want? Here's the thing: Jimmy acknowledged Roman as the head of the table, as the chief and everything. So he said, "Wouldn't you want more championships in the family? Isn't that the point?" Okay. Anyway, the match itself, it was just a little too long. Again, that's probably something like Dominic should have really come down a lot earlier in the match, or he should have said, I could tough this out or something, and been down there at the beginning, just because it would have worked a lot better. I think just having it be Rey on his own for so long, it just kind of caused the match to plod along. It was not very good. Okay, so I guess in the big build-up to this, because they're sponsored by, was it Land of the Dead? Not Land of the Dead. Oh, the Zack Snyder zombie movie that's coming out on Netflix next week or whatever. And with Batista in it. Basically, the next match, which is the lumberjack match between Damian Priest and The Miz, is a zombie lumberjack match. Like earlier, Morrison tried to go find out where the lumberjacks were being held. He said, "I'm going to go to them and see if I can negotiate anything." It turns out they're all zombies. And the whole thing turns into zombies. Zombies crawl out of everywhere. They scare off the announcers, so they have to go to a special remote location. The whole Thunderdome turns into like this dystopian wasteland. So right off the bat, those zombies, like I said, scared off everyone. Priest dodged a kick, but Miz kind of got catapulted into the zombies. Miz hit a clothesline, but also kind of fell back into the zombie lumberjacks. Priest hit a clothesline. Priest hit a spin kick off the top rope. Miz locked on the figure 4, but they were too close to the zombies who began interfering again. Morrison came down and interfered at one point. He began hitting several moves to try to take out the zombies, but the numbers eventually caught up to him, and he was eaten by them, I guess. So I guess we get to look forward to Zombie Morrison soon. And Priest hit the broken arrow for a 3 count of the victory after he and The Miz had to fight off several of the zombies. And then the zombies ate The Miz. So I guess Miz and Morrison are zombies now. We won't be playing Johnny Cage. The match was kind of dumb but fun. It was probably the best lumberjack match I've ever seen. That's not saying much because the lumberjack match concept always is very predictable, but still, at least this one had the novelty of the zombies. And you know, even afterwards throughout the Thunderdome, they had zombies popping up in the video screens. So it was kind of nice, but other than that, yeah, just rather forgettable. Okay, our next match is the SmackDown Women's Championship match, Bianca Belair versus Bayley. Bayley had Bell Loser shaved into her hair this time. Early on, Belair caught Bayley in an arm wringer. She teased the hair whip and made Bayley duck, basically out of fright. Belair hit, let me see this, a hip toss over the top rope. Bayley eventually grabbed Belair's earring again to gain an advantage. She had a slingshot off the second rope. Bayley hit a front suplex on the ring steps. Bayley hit a sort of swinging side slam, but Belair eventually countered a rose planter into a spine buster. Belair dodged a suicide dive and hit a face buster into the apron. Belair caught, Bayley got caught using the ropes for leverage during a pin, but then managed to get a thumb to Belair's eye. She eventually went for another rose planter, but she tried to use Bianca's hair to get a little extra oomph into the rose planter, but Belair took that and used that as leverage to get the pin, a roll-up pin. So yeah, that's how that match ended. This was alright, it was fine, it did a good job telling a story. I don't quite like the finish. Like, again, we should be booking Bianca Belair to look more dominant, and to have her squeak by with a hair-assisted pin just, I don't think works nearly as well. I mean, I guess if you want to build for some long-term storytelling, maybe, but again, you know, if it's just going to be, you know, Bayley and then Sasha whenever she comes back, I'm just not sure. It just, again, this really fell flat. This should have been a much better match than it was. Okay, our next match is the triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre versus Braun Strowman. I like how the announcers say Strowman was a last-minute addition to the match. He was added 3 weeks ago. How was that last minute? Anyway, they called back to the U.S. title match with an Elimination Chamber where, again, Lashley lost that championship even though he wasn't pinned. So, look, again, right off the bat, Lashley attempted to make a partnership with McIntyre, but Strowman just jumped both of them before they could happen. So, basically, they had no choice but to work together. They suplexed Strowman, but Strowman came back. He had a big double flying clothesline off of the ring apron. McIntyre hit a flying crossbody onto Strowman, onto Lashley, and then he threw Strowman into the post. Lashley came back and hit Strowman with a spine buster. Strowman attacked with the ring steps. McIntyre and Lashley fought to the top of the ramp, at which point McIntyre kind of threw him into what looked like some sort of like electrical circuit area, which caused a whole bunch of sparks and explosions, and then Lashley was kind of out of the match for a while. So at that point, Strowman returned. He threw McIntyre back down the ramp towards the ring. They fought outside the ring. McIntyre went for a Claymore, but Strowman blocked it and powerbombed him on the announce table. Strowman went for the running power slam, but he fought out of that, and McIntyre fought out of that and hit a Claymore kick. And it's that point that Lashley re-interjected himself in the match. He threw McIntyre out of the ring and speared Strowman for the 3 count of the victory to retain the championship. Afterwards, McIntyre just kind of stared at Lashley again. Not bad. This was definitely the match of the night. I think this was more enjoyable. It had that high-impact car crash mentality to it. A lot of good physical, strong fighting in it. Again, this did a much better job telling the story, I think, than any of the other matches did tonight. It definitely plants the seeds for more Lashley McIntyre. Hopefully they'll start moving on pretty soon here. It just, again, if McIntyre has to lose next month, fine, but again, let's start trying to look for some more opponents here. Like, I know they want to move, I think, Aleister Black to Raw, so something like that could maybe work. So again, like, just, it's time to start refreshing a little bit here. I mean, McIntyre hasn't, exactly, it's like, you know, Mania, he looked stupid. At least in this case, you know, it's a bit more on target where Lashley can sneak in and throw him out of the ring. But at least it wasn't quite as clunky as the other triple threat finish. So, again, definitely match of the night overall. Pretty good match. But still had some problems in there. And that leads us into our main event, the Universal Championship match, Roman Reigns versus Cesaro. During the intros, Reigns tells Jay to just stay back and go look for Jimmy. Because, again, Jimmy throughout the night has been trying to talk Jay out of leaving this family thing. I don't know what they're calling themselves exactly. So also, Cesaro had vampire teeth for his mouth guard. Right off the bat, Cesaro's tried a couple of moves, but Pat McAfee's microphone cut out, so I didn't know exactly what it was he was supposed to be talking about. Cesaro came and he hit his corkscrew uppercut. He attempted a swing. Reigns tossed Cesaro out of the ring, and he landed awkwardly on his arm, so he got selling an arm injury at that point. He tried to get out several moves, but it just could. Yeah, like he was just hurting his arm more and more. Eventually, he did counter a Superman punch with an uppercut. Cesaro went for a sharpshooter, but Reigns got to the ropes. Cesaro attempted a suplex over the top rope, but Reigns sucker punched him. Reigns hit a drive-by, knocking Cesaro into the ring post. Cesaro came back, hit a big discus lariat, again further injuring his arm, so he couldn't get to the neutralizer when he attempted it. Reigns countered the neutralizer into an armbar. Reigns countered a pop-up uppercut with the Superman punch. Reigns blocked another uppercut and then locked on a guillotine. Cesaro fought out of it, went for a sharpshooter, and then modified it into a crossface, but Reigns kind of floated over and locked on a guillotine. Cesaro tried to power out of it, but he eventually just passed out, and that's how the match ended. Afterwards, Jey Uso came to the ring, basically asked if he could beat up Cesaro. Roman said yes, so he did. Then Seth Rollins' music hits. Rollins goes down to the ring, looks at Reigns, stares at him, smiles, and then attacks Cesaro. He takes a chair and starts attacking Cesaro's arm with it. He then sort of Pillmanizes Cesaro's arm and slams it into the ring post, and that's how it ended. So, this match, it was kind of like SmackDown Womens Championship match. It really should have been better than it was. It was okay, but it dragged on way too long, especially for a massive beatdown at the end where no one's going to come to help Cesaro. Like, come on, like, and what happened to Jimmy Uso? Shouldn't he have been in the main event? Like, just way too bloated a finish, and dragged too much weight. Like, you know, if you're going to sell that arm injury, I think it needs to be a much shorter match than what it was. You shouldn't have Cesaro making so many comebacks, because then when he finally does give up, it looks like he, just gave up instead of passing out early on. Like, it should have been, or someone should have interfered and injured Cesaro's arm to the point that he passed out. I think that would have worked a much better storyline than just Cesaro, passing out on his own. It didn't make him look strong. It just, like I said, it looked really clunky. And, maybe if he and Rollins face each other at the next show, that can help build things up again. But, yeah, this was not a good debut for Cesaro as a main eventer, unfortunately. So, yeah. And that was just kind of the thing about the overall show. It just felt really fillery and boring. Like, this was maybe even worse than Fastlane, in terms of, oh God, we're just bridging to Mania and not doing anything. Well, now, I don't know what they're bridging to with this. The next show is Hell in a Cell. Yeah, they moved that up to June for some reason. Technically in between that, there's an NXT TakeOver in Your House is coming back again, but that's on the 13th. Hell in a Cell is on the 20th. So, yeah, I don't know what they're bridging to there. I'm guessing we're probably going to get McIntyre and Lashley, maybe Strowman as well in Hell in a Cell. Maybe Rollins and Cesaro. I don't see Reigns doing anything in this, so again, I don't know what they're going to do now. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's any real credible babyface threats right now, so it just really didn't do anything to help the product at all. I mean, the more I'm thinking about it, there was one really good match on this show out of a lot of, not so much. I'm going to be giving WrestleMania Backlash a D. It wasn't really worth the time at all. It just felt like a big waste. Okay, so as I'm recording this on Sunday, this should be going up on Monday, the rate I'm going. So the next video is going to be the random trade review on Batgirl Stephanie Brown Volume 1. And then it's going to, I also obviously just uploaded my NFL 2021 preview schedule preview or recap, just my overall thoughts on the initial announcements and everything. Whew, I'm getting tired, sorry. So yeah, I just uploaded that. Don't know what the next movie, I guess the next movie TV review again is going to be Mighty Ducks Game Changers once that wraps up, which I think is in the next couple of weeks. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/SleepyTimeForCat Productions, where you can help me expand my wrestling coverage to stuff beyond WWE, NXT, and the occasional AEW free show.